Like facing your inner demons to climb your way to the top of the mountain, so are the games of our lives. I didn't realize this mountain had mirror demons, and now I'm scared. And these are the games of our lives.
Super Mario and Pokemon and all the games that took us to another place and made us want to keep playing all night. These are the games of our lives.
Welcome, everybody, to the Games of Our Lives podcast, a podcast about the video games we played who made us the gamers who we are today. My name is Bill, and today I am joined by the wonderful, the radical Nate, also known as the Third Knight. Welcome in.
Hello. Good afternoon. How we doing?
I am so excited to have you on the show, of course, and to talk about one heck of a video game this week. And Nate, do you mind sharing what video game we're going to be talking about?
We are talking about the indie game phenom known as Celeste, where you're just a gal climbing a mountain.
Beautiful video game. Can't wait to dive in. But before we dive in, we, of course, have to talk about some news. Now, this week, we've got a couple of bangers for news stories. So, and listen, I pull the news from random different places.
Okay.
So, just recently, police arrested a man in the United Kingdom, and he was found with approximately $300,000 in approximated value worth of stolen Pokemon trading cards.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. All right.
Have you heard this story?
No, that is crazy. But not surprising. I feel like we, as a collective society, have for sure put a value on Pokemon cards, and I love this. But I feel as though there's a limit to everything, and I think we've just gotten to a point where people are running legitimate Ocean's 11 level heist plans to get access to these trading cards. And the worst part about it is they probably, if they had a run-in on the street where they had to like use that deck to actually win a game, they wouldn't be able to do anything. And wow.
And the way the scalper market's going these days, that could just be 4 or 5 cards. Like, honestly,
yeah. like what is the value, right? Like,
that
would you
PSA
top deck
10
something?
Moonbryon, like,
goodness.
Like, man had 4 slabs, and they're like, "We got you."
Right. Like,
now,
okay.
do you play the trading card game, or do you collect the cards?
Yeah, I was more of a collector when I was younger, and I will probably be forever kicking myself for losing my booklet of collected cards
No.
when I did my first big move, right? Because this was right around the time where cards like rocketed in value.
Yeah.
And I think just now I'm more of a casual collector, I'd say.
Sure.
Definitely trying to just aspire to the previous binder book that I had. I wish I had like the pages upon pages of just, casually being able to collect all of these, what I imagine are just ridiculous cards now.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like even just today, I'm more of a TCG Pocket kind of guy. I feel like the barrier for entry is just a little bit lower, right? When everything's a bit, digitized. I've been a collector, which, we've shared card collections, the vast card collections from patch to patch, and even a bit of a battler there. I'm at what I think is the peak of ultra rank at the moment.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to see if I could break into that really top ladder. I have no idea what that looks like, but
Just the
We'll see.
the sweatiest Giratinas you're ever gonna see.
You know, I'm a vigilante. I'm a mercenary. I'm whatever you need to because you know, my like I'm always it's always nice when you're, you know, getting through, you know, any type of ranked game and as you climb a ladder things come a little bit more homogenized, right?
Right.
But there's a vindictiveness that spikes whenever I see like the dark energy on the opponent's field. Or if I know for a fact that they're just like trying to flex on me with their 2-star Giratina and like, you
Gold
know,
Pokeballs.
I'm like, you know, why are we doing this? Like, if you don't let me play my Meowscarada and get on,
I'm already when I see the gold Pokeball come out, I'm already tilted. I'm just like, come on, man, you didn't have to do me like that.
Yeah, or the people who play both Mars, Iono, and Red Card for like no reason. Like they're just doing it just because.
It's rare candy. It hates on rare candy, and I think that's I've seen it a lot more recently, of course, with the new set drop, but it hurts so bad when it hits you and like gets you good.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm like, you know, especially in a rare candy meta now, I'm just like, let me get as many things as I can onto the field as possible because there's not a whole lot you can do once it's actually on the field. You know, obviously you have a couple of cards that can move things around, but I mean, I knew that we had lost the plot when I had got both red carded and then Mars back to back, like within the same turn, and I was like, the irony and what makes it fun for me is that they'll do the red card and I'll be like, oh, okay, well, they got me. But then they'll Mars and I get the exact thing that I wanted, if not even better back. And I'm like, well, now you played yourself because you were just playing cards because you could try to, you know. So, hey, more power to the individual.
I guess the scope is going to have to come back.
Right. We're going to have to start looking at cards again. I'm sorry.
Oh, man. That is... Man, I'm very excited to see where the future of TCG Pocket goes. Just because they have been making cards, churning them out so fast that, like, we are already in an era where, like, OG cards are getting power crept, and it's certainly going to be interesting to see where they move forward. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I had a question regarding your OG collection.
Okay.
Did you have like a holy grail that you were like, this is the card that I show people because I'm like, bam.
Oh man. So early on, and this is obviously kind of tied to my love for my favorite Pokemon, obviously Jirachi. I mean, I've got the crystal like Pokeball if it decides to show here.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah. There was a promotional card that I wish that I knew the exact context. It might have been around when Wishmaker came out. That sounds about correct. But there was a promotional card that was specific to the movie, I believe. And I was able to somehow get my hands on the card because it was one of those cards where if you had it, you knew that it was deserved somehow because there was like the people who were interested in Pokemon in the Americas and then the people who were interested in Pokemon but lived in Japan. Obviously, the Japanese players got all of the really, really, really cool stuff. And if we just so happened to be in Big Pikachu's good graces, we would maybe get like a crumb of something.
A pittance for us, please.
Yeah. Right, like just please give something to us American peasants, please.
Or like print them another Pikachu. They'll eat it up.
Yeah, right. And did, right?
We did. Oh, delicious. Please give us more.
Please. I had a friend who just so happened to be on like a family trip to Japan.
Yeah.
And they were giving out access to these like cards because just, moviegoers were able to go, and they were able to get their free card and the poster and this, that, and the third. And I remember, and this is how I know that this is a lifelong friend, because when you're in grade school, right, I feel as though you are only in your friendships, whether it's just like budding puppy love romance or just like bro friendships, like the ones are there, they are ultimately guillotined by the summer break, right? Because I feel like you're only as good as your most recent interactions. And sometimes you have people like forget everything that happened in one grade when they go into another because, out of sight, out of mind. I told this individual before they went, I was like, listen, I am not asking for much, but I feel as though you might be able to have an opportunity to go onto this trip. And if you do, right, please find yourself a way to get to the movie and get me a copy of the card. The poster, whatever, fine. If that somehow makes it back through us, but please try with the card because this is my favorite Pokemon. And I remember because of just like the timing, I wasn't really able to interact with, this individual a whole lot. We get to the first day of the new grade, and at this point I've kind of just forgotten because I fall prey to my own situation. I remember we ended up in the same homeroom together, and I remember kind of as you're gathering school supplies, and I don't know if this is a situation that ends up happening a bit different in other school systems. I'm sure everybody kind of has their own specific intricacies, but
Sure.
you get to be able to, interact with the teacher, maybe place all of your books and everything, so you're completely good first day of school. I get there and I don't know when it happened, but all I see is a face down Pokemon card at my assigned desk with like a little note that said, "Told you so, didn't forget about you, hope you had a good summer." When I tell you, and of course I'm still friends with this person to this day, but like that just shot like your social credit. I was like willing to lay down all of my mechanical pencils, all of my like best lunch snacks for this individual. I swear, I was like, you're my best friend on the planet Earth right now, because
Yeah.
you not only like beat the grade school forgetting allegations, but like also you were able to not like really follow through with a request that you didn't have to,
Right.
So yeah, I'd say that's probably where my holy grail card is. Maybe it's somewhere lying in obscurity somewhere, but yeah,
It's been behind your
it.
couch for years. You just haven't looked hard
Yeah,
enough.
collecting dust,
Well, listen, maybe one day that card will find its way back to you. I hope it
Yeah.
does. And Jirachi bless,
Jirachi bless.
Next piece of news.
Okay.
This is a big one. Per NBC Universal, the sequel to the Super Mario Brothers movie's title will be Super Mario World.
Wow.
So, no Super Mario Brothers 2. We're going straight to World, baby.
All right.
So, I don't know if that means, like, Mario World takes place in, like, Dinosaur Land or whatever, like, that area is called. But, like, we did see the Yoshi egg at the end of 1, so maybe we're going to get, like, the Koopalings involved, perhaps?
Maybe. I wouldn't be mad at that, and I want all of them to have their most distinct personalities. I'm a Lemmy supporter.
Okay.
Like, obviously, I'm a fan of Bowser Jr., but like, if I had to pick like another Koopaling, go ahead and give me that absolutely crazy individual. I mean, just you could tell looking at eye, that's really surprising to me, and maybe this is just because I've become so like Marvel coded based on some of our like best media from a cinema standpoint. But when I hear World, I immediately go well, what is the bounds of that, right? Like,
Right.
are we within this particular Mario world and we're traveling there, or is there potentially opening up another universe, right, through these warp pipes, right? I know that there was a whole lot of conversation, and just like, you could see that throughout the first movie, but I'm like, maybe I'm putting my tinfoil hat on, but I'm wondering, is there a universe where things can come together, and in the Super Smash Brothers cinematic universe is coming, and it's happening right under our noses? I don't know.
That would be insane. It's because we have like the live action Zelda coming out in the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But we're getting a Super Mario World, which I mean, like, assuming Super Mario World does gangbusters like Mario Brothers did, there's going to be at least a part 3.
Yeah.
The question is, do they call it Super Mario 64, or are they gonna jump straight to Galaxy?
You know,
I mean, Skipping
yeah.
Sunshine, that's going to be the DVD release that gets put out between 2 and 3.
Or like the one that's like specifically on streaming services, and it's not really a movie, it just ends up being like that 8-episode series,
Right.
that is gonna be relevant, and you actually need to watch it for
Oh, so
the
this will
Galaxy
be
or the
this
third
is
one to make
Marvel
sense.
then, because this will be like those like Marvel mini shows.
Yep.
This is Agents of Shield is Mario Sunshine.
Oh yeah, just looking at the best places to go on vacation.
Yeah.
An entire community service cleanup project.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm pumped for it.
Mhm.
There have not been a lot of details announced, but I think the Koopa Kids would be rad.
Oh yeah, 100%. My thought process is, I mean, where do you go from here in terms of casting? Because that's a starting lineup and a half of individuals that you would need to have, all with distinct personalities, but also can mesh together well as well. So, I mean, based on who's been there versus who could potentially join, I don't know. I mean,
like, if you had to pick a dream cast for Lemmy, for example, who would you like to voice Lemmy of all the Koopas?
oh man. I would want I'd want Rolf from Ed Netty. I want that voice actor to have a comeback in my humble opinion. I feel like that would be, yeah. Give me, like, I think his name is Peter Kalamis, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I need him to make a comeback. I just want to, like, because can you imagine, like, if it's just you don't really get too much of a press run with these Koopalings. You just know that the Koopalings are going to be in the movie.
Right.
And if I were to, like, randomly hear something like that, or like a Son of a Shepherd reference, just completely eccentric individual, I'd throw my popcorn in the air. I don't know.
Listen, we all need a new chicken jockey moment, and calling someone the son of a Koopa might just be the moment.
Yeah. Give me that. That'd be fun.
I'd love to see. So, like, my favorite is Roy. Like, Roy's my boy.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, as much as I hate, like, this is what I think Hollywood would do, and this is what I would want. Hollywood would cast, like, The Rock as Roy, and I hate that. I would love to see, like, Danny DeVito as Roy.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Because he's kind of like that stout guy. Kind of give, like, Phil from Hercules energy, I think would be, like, where I would want that to go.
Yeah. That'd be great. I'd want one of them to be just like, yeah, that would be an excellent casting. Would Hollywood do that? They should, right? This is why we need to get hired on as part of the triage squad, because I think, have very unironically good castings. Will they do it? Who knows?
Hey,
Um,
you got to figure, Ludwig is going to just be German. Like,
yeah.
like they'll just like typecast him just Beethoven.
As Beethoven,
Right.
Ludwig van.
Unless they get like the popular YouTuber / Twitch streamer Ludwig as
Yeah,
Ludwig.
that'd be funny. I'd want them. Yeah, like I will say, I think it would be very hilarious to have somebody like that just be able to make an appearance, or have one where it's the voice doesn't match the body almost.
Sure.
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like they would not do this whatsoever, but just like an Idris Elba for like Bowser Jr., for example. Like, of course that does not make sense, but if y'all did that casting, I'd be like, you know what? This has got spirit, and you know what? I believe in Idris to pull this off.
You know what? They'll end up casting Idris as like one of the one-off toads that they walk past.
Yeah.
Just like a 2-minute lore drop, not even.
Mm-hmm.
Now you may go.
Yeah. That's good. But yeah, I'm excited about it. What I will say is I think that it is a beautiful time to be growing older with video game and like cartoon franchises, because I think that they're doing a better job as of recent of bringing stuff to big screen, because I feel like, just historically, that has not been good whatsoever. If you hear
Sure.
live action anything, sans, like 15, 20 years, you're like, grown, eye roll, just immediately throw it to, DVX. We aren't even getting a DVD tape. Like, this is a cassette.
Well, this makes
Right?
sense because, we, as like the 30-year-olds in the universe, we grew
Mhm.
up learning every single thing not to do regarding a video game movie. And we have 30
Yeah.
years of bad experience to say, like, if we're going to do it, let's do it right.
Yeah.
And let's avoid the common pitfalls. And so, like, we have, like you said, like, we have the Mario movie. We have, like, Detective Pikachu that people loved. The Sonic trilogy that just came out.
Yeah.
I mean, we are definitely in a golden era of video game movie. Even Minecraft.
Yeah. We got the video game guide, literally, like in real life. So that's good to know. But yeah, is there a timeline for when that new movie is going to come out, Super Mario World?
I don't know that they announced a release date yet.
Okay.
So I feel like they often save those for, or at least they did for the last movie. They saved them for Nintendo Directs. So
Okay.
we may just get information in an upcoming Nintendo Direct. Would not shock me, because I think we got like Mario Brothers movie casting in a Direct one time.
We did. Yeah, they really kind of just threw that in there.
It was a very confusing.
We were and I'm pretty sure that Direct in general was a little like all over the place, and they were like, "Here go 2 more for you."
Right.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah, it was a very, and it came together beautifully ultimately, but it was at the time of the announcement, everybody's like, I don't know what to expect out of this movie, because this casting feels all over the place.
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked.
It did. I was not mad at it. Yeah, I wasn't mad at it at all, really. It came together, and maybe it was because I already kind of had subverted my expectations, but
Sure.
Yeah, like, solid.
Absolutely. Last piece of news. This one I'm very excited for. We've got the Pokemon Fossil Museum. To the Field Museum of Chicago next spring, 2026. Going to be featuring fossil exhibits of ancient Pokemon. Listen, as someone who lives Chicago adjacent, I am super pumped for this.
Yeah. I'm surprised I got really hyped, but then also was kind of surprised that something like this hasn't been done or like happened, or maybe it has, but maybe not to this scale. But
You know
yeah.
what? The only thing that I can think of that is like similar to this, right, is
Mhm.
I feel like over the last like 3 years, 4 years or so, at multiple like aquariums around the world, they've been doing like the
Yep.
Animal Crossing kind of
Hmm.
crossover.
Yeah.
But like that's literally what my question was going to be, was like, you know, we've seen Animal Crossing at the aquariums, and now we've got the fossil exhibit at like
Mhm.
history museums. What is like another like video game slash real life crossover that you think like would be rad?
Oh,
Because like I feel like Pokemon X like a zoo is like
yeah.
just as free as like this fossil thing.
Hmm.
Um, but it's tough.
You know what I would love?
Hmm.
And I don't know why I ended up fixating on this. Maybe it's just because I was kind of recently put on to my, city's minor league baseball team.
Okay.
But I think a I think we could do one of two things, right?
Sure.
And this could either be just kind of a night or a collaboration within jerseys, but two games that I don't think get enough love, and even if they do, I feel like they deserve a little bit more. Would definitely be the Mario Superstar Sluggers, like the Mario baseball game,
100%.
and obviously anything backyard, anything, right? Like backyard baseball. I feel like we could have and incorporate so many like instances for collaborative nights, whether that's just like for food or again like the idea of a jersey drop. Like if you're telling
Right.
me that my favorite baseball team just so happened to drop a goat
A Pablo
Pablo, like,
jersey? Are you kidding
give
me?
me like, I'm telling you, just like something ridiculous. I
I
think a collaboration or like more stuff for real life sports events should happen because I've seen the Mario Kart in real life, but
Sure.
why not take it somewhere
I
else,
mean, not for nothing. Like we've seen, like One Piece lately with like the
Hmm.
L.A. Dodgers and with the Lakers and stuff like that. Like I think this is like a perfect opportunity for baseball because
Yeah.
like baseball, I feel like these like themed baseball events are like such a great way to get people into the stadium. And
Yep.
like just so happened this year, my brother Thrilly and we went down to the local baseball stadium because on May 4th they had a Star Wars themed day, and they
Oh,
had a whole
okay.
bunch of like people dressed up as like Star Troopers. There was a Chewbacca. There was a whole like bunch of like cosplay that was
Yeah.
like brought in for the event, and like we all got like themed jerseys and stuff like that. Like it was pretty rad. Like so
Mhm.
I think, yeah, like some sort of like Nintendo X baseball thing would be really cool. Like
Mhm.
cuz like even like imagine like just your favorite like baseball team had like a Super Mario patch, like limited
Right.
patch or something, that like if you go to the game you get the patch or you get a shirt with the patch.
Hmm.
Like that would be awesome, or even a baseball cap with
Yeah.
like a logo on it. Like that I think would do numbers.
Oh, 100%. I'm a sucker for collaborations. Like if how to market, like as somebody who has had experience within marketing, how to get me just as a consumer is if you give me something that I'm already a fan of, but then you do a collaboration with something that I grew up with, an
Yeah.
anime, a TV show, a video game, I'm immediately looking like, oh, that's of skyrocketed value. Why not
Right.
do something like that? Um, and that shows with just a lot of the attire that I feel like I have right now. Like there's a streetwear um collaboration or just somebody that I found recently. Shout out Snacky, who dropped these like oversized tees that kind of look like, you know, what you would wear in terms of streetwear, but it's of the like printed out Eon tickets. So I have like a Latios and a Latias, like two really nice looking shirts with just like a simple Latios logo like towards the middle of your chest, but on the back it's a completely printed out like red colorway or like blue colorway like Eon ticket.
That's so
and I was just
sick.
like, yeah, I looked at that and was like, this is sick. Like, I love having stuff in my wardrobe where people are just like, where did you get that? And it's like, I'm not going to be one to gatekeep, but like, I genuinely don't know where else you could be able to find this, because this was either something that was custom or I just so happened to like find a local artist that was doing so. But yeah, I mean, just like that as of recent was like, oh yeah, of course, give me that.
Well, I mean, like in growing up too, like, you know, it's been so difficult, like especially like in like my like young adult era, maybe like talking like 10-ish years ago. You know, if you wanted to find any like merchandise or clothing that wasn't just like a screen printed shirt, good luck. Like like anime merch didn't really exist in like a fashionable sense. Video game merch did not exist in a fashionable sense. That is why we have the meme of a green Zelda shirt over khaki shorts. That's because that's all we had 15 years ago.
That's just what it was.
That was top
like,
to bottom, the whole drip.
Yeah, like Hot Topic or Spencer's was my holy grail because that was the closest that I was going to get.
Yeah.
And I just accepted that my, you know, like you give me the, you know, like the screen caps, which like even just prime example, right? Like there was a Funko Pop Bakugo like situation that's happening here, but you wouldn't even necessarily get to see a full body art t-shirt. This was just like give me the cap here, and that's just
the 8x11 on your chest.
Yeah.
And call it a day.
And that's just it, and you just accepted that. But now, you know, that's one of the things that I feel like I'm so grateful for how some of the stuff that I feel like we liked growing up is starting to come a little bit more into the mainstream. That's one of the benefits. You get the artists who are just like, well, what if I did something with this, but I just make it anime? And I'm like, okay, we're way closer and we have a lot more options, which is beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, listen, one day they're going to come out with just like a piece of Zapdos merch that is just so elite that I cannot help but buy it. But Nintendo, you got to make shoes that are bigger than like a men's size 9. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
That's as a size 12 haver. When I went out to Japan last fall, I found a pair of Converse, like Chuck Taylors, that were so sick. They were a Splatoon Chuck Taylor, and like the bottom was like blue and that lime greenish splotches, and there were splotches like going all the way up the shoe. Biggest they had was like a men's size 8. I'm like, I'm cooked. I would wear these every. I don't even like Splatoon like that. Like, I like the aesthetic of Splatoon more than I like the game of Splatoon. I just think it's a whole vibe. Like the game's fun too, but the vibes are immaculate. And like I would have worn those shoes forever, but you know, they gotta get some bigger feet options out here.
Help the bigger feet havers. I'm right there with you with the size 12 like shoe size. I almost have to look and pray. Like if it's a collaboration that isn't, you know, specific to like a Nike or an Adidas or something along those lines, and I go abroad, I'm cooked.
Absolutely.
I'm like I've kind of already accepted that. Like even, I mean, just sizing standards from America to anywhere abroad is just so vastly different. I mean, like I just recently had to, you know, the reason why I had to make a couple of errands earlier today, just in general, was because I was like, yeah, I should be fine with this type of sizing. And then I was like, I don't know if I should feel validated or like offended, but I'm like, this is a my arms are going to destroy this like this shirt jacket that I have together. I need to immediately take this off. I either have to like sit like this,
Oh
or
no.
like if I have to like, or if I go like, I can't even make it all the way here. If I go like here, it's cooked. Oh man, it's yeah. So when you see something, I think that is the quick time event of act on it, because I know, especially with just like sizing differences,
Yeah.
it's it's wild out there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It makes you think though, like as like a foreign visitor, do the people of like these small foot countries look at us like the way that we look at Sora? Like, do we just have like
Yeah.
comically large like look at these ducks walking by here?
Like with the walk and all, you know,
Everything.
which, you know, and I mean, needless to say,
Yeah.
I am so excited for this this new museum that's opening up. I pray that I can find a ticket, even just remotely,
Yeah.
to both Chicago and into the museum itself. I'm going to be just the greatest photographer everybody has seen. But so that almost reminds me, I feel like there could have been an awesome shoe opportunity. Are you familiar with those big red like Astro Boy-esque boots
Yeah,
that came out a little while ago?
like the Mega Man 11s, yeah.
Yeah, the Mega Man 11s, right? Like the retro game, you know, roll credit 4s. I'm like, I feel like Kingdom Hearts should be next, right? Like, give me just as goofy of a shoe. Like, I'll do the walk and everything if you're telling me that collaboration would drop.
Right? There's a market for it.
Yeah, huge market. I'd be in that. Like, functional, absolutely not. But like for the bit, oh, 1,000,000%.
I mean, listen, Kingdom Hearts 4 is coming out soon. Why not put a shoe line out to help incorporate? You know what I'm saying?
You get a buyer in me.
Don't be cowards, Disney. Don't be cowards, Square. Make it happen and make them in a size 12. That's
Yes,
all we're saying.
please.
Well, that's all we've got for the news. I think it is now time to move on to the main event. We are talking about the one, the only Celeste, a video game that came out back in 2018 about a girl climbing a mountain, and a whole bunch of hijinks happen between the base to the top, and it's just a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
Do you want to give like a little like summary of how the game goes?
Yeah. So the long and short of it is almost what is just purely aforementioned. I mean, you are this individual who wants to prove to themselves that they can do something, right? They can truly and genuinely do something substantial within their life, based on, you know, just their self-worth and their self-belief. And of course, the mountain, aptly named Celeste Mountain, which is where, you know, our namesake comes from, is the target of focus. And, you know, our main character, our protagonist, Miss Madeline, she decides that that's what she's gonna do. And, you know, on the way to the top, there is a whole lot that's going on. You know, not just within herself, but just with a lot of the other characters that are surrounding her. Some that are supportive, some that are not very supportive, some that you know, are dealing with their own, you know, inner demons, right? And some individuals who, you know, are just absolutely significant to the overall progression of the mountain, because it's not just a, physical and literal climb, but there's a lot of metaphors and allegorical representations that are happening as well. And that's just what it is. If you're a fan of platforming, if you're a fan of a retro aesthetic, if you are a fan of strawberry collecting, oh yeah, this game is for you.
I really well said. Really well said. I always think of this game in terms of other platformers, just because I'm a big platform player, and I compare a lot of like platformers I play to previous platformers I play. And the biggest like 1-to-1 I would say for Celeste would be like Super Meat Boy. From a gameplay perspective, obviously the stories are incredibly different. You do not play as a wet wad of meat trying to save their girlfriend from some weird science baby. But the gameplay is very similar in that you have incredibly tight controls. You're able to scale walls to an extent. You're able to do a little double jump action. And each area, there are several levels in the game. I want to say there's like 7 or 8 main story levels. And each level introduces like 1 or 2 new mechanics that give you kind of like a sense of progression. And then they build off of the previous levels and stuff like that. And for a game that is about climbing a mountain, they do such a good job of showcasing you in so many different like locales and just like visuals. Like every area looks so different. Every area is so unique. And not only is the gameplay absolutely killer, but it may have one of the best soundtracks of like any indie game. I mean, it's like right up there with like Undertale. Like it really is just that killer of a soundtrack. Lena Raine did crazy work.
Like I always tell people, for me especially with indie games, I direct people to the soundtrack first. I always say, hey, I want you to take a couple of sounds, a couple of skim throughs of what this is, and I want you to just imagine and see what you can potentially do in terms of immersion, right? Because I think if a soundtrack can be able to immerse you, then that coupled with the gameplay serves as just this like beautiful, polymerization, right? That works so well together. And you can almost kind of feel a lot of the feelings that I feel like our main character has, this sense of whimsy at the beginning, or maybe even just kind of like this sense of anxiety with like, some of the things that she's dealing with internally. I feel like the different motifs and melodies that you hear within the soundtrack already tell enough of an oral story that by the time that you get to the game, you're like, oh my goodness gracious, I see exactly what they were trying to do and how this makes sense. And I feel like that's sometimes a lost art. Sometimes I feel like people are having soundtracks just to have soundtracks. I think it's a beautiful, larger conversation with indie games of how they take that so seriously, in my opinion, and tell just a beautiful story before you even press start.
Right. Yeah. I think like Hollow Knight also does like a phenomenal job with that as well.
Yep.
But like you nailed it. The music really does such an incredible job of like setting tone. And you see that in some levels in a build-up sense. Like there's one level that you are making your way through an abandoned hotel, and as you progress through the hotel, more like instruments get added, and it becomes like this whole big thing by the end. And then a vampire monster ghost chases you away. But that happens sometimes,
that's just a regular day.
Have you ever climbed a mountain before? That happens.
Right. When you forget to check out, because apparently, people just aren't doing the regular checkout proceedings. They're just walking out.
Can you believe it? People these days.
I know.
Now, Nate, I want you to like kind of reflect and think back, if you can, on what your like first experience with this game was like. Did you play it like right at launch, or did you wait a little bit?
Yeah, so I think that this game was one that I had heard about, a little bit before and during launch, but I didn't up and play until maybe about 2021, I want to say.
Okay.
And this, along with Hollow Knight, I think were one of the first games that I played within the indie genre on stream, especially. Um, and for me, when I kind of got there, a lot of this time was me trying to figure out what my own personal pillars were for who I wanted to be as a creator, and at least just like what games I wanted to play, because I was learning and relearning that some games for me make sense to play on stream, and then some games for me make sense to play off stream. And as I was trying to figure out exactly the ones that were making a little bit more sense, or like the community that was starting to gather a little bit around this time, um, I was curious to see what they were into, and I had always found really, really good experiences playing, these indie games. And this was something where I knew of indie games before, but I don't really think that I gave it the level of, TLC that I feel like I do now, of why, I'm such an active advocate for just the space as we speak. But I think Celeste was really like the buds for that, right? Like I
Yeah.
remember playing the game and starting things up, and the premise, it Celeste does a very good job in giving you the simple objective, right? There isn't necessarily anything super hidden until you really start to dive a little bit more, but the premise is never a distraction for you. It is simply, you are this individual and you are trying to journey to the top of a mountain. And I was very curious about this as well. So
Yeah.
um it was a good time. Getting through a lot of the story elements, felt really good, because as you're learning a little bit more about this character, you're starting to get closer and closer to what both your personal summit is and her summit is, her the mountain, you with the game. And I just remember having so many of these wonderful experiences through both gameplay and, more specifically, failure, that was really different for me, right? The game, I think, is one of the first that I've seen that almost encourages you to fail, right? With the asterisk, of course, being, as long as you are learning something, your death counter actually is more of a good thing the higher it goes, because
Sure.
it shows, that you have a level of, curiosity, and I think more importantly, grit within this game
Yeah.
to try things, or to, experiment with different things as well.
The game's
So,
not easy.
yeah.
Just like at a baseline, it is not an easy video game. It is
Mm-mm.
one of the more challenging action platformers. But like you said, it is incredibly forgiving, that when your character, dies on screen, the
Mhm.
respawn is like immediate.
Snappy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have a lot of time to, like, oh man, like, because by the time that that's happened, you're already respawned,
Time
and
to
it's
go.
it's time to try to go again. Yeah, I mean, so I'll say that for sure. It almost, kind of going a little bit more like deeper into this idea of failure. The it gave me almost the green light through the game, speaking to me almost, to say that, hey, it's okay to fail, or it's okay to not necessarily be good at something, which truthfully I think was what I needed where I was back in 20 and 2021. We're knee deep into COVID kind of at this point. And for me, I look and I'm like, well, I mean, I want to maybe try this thing, but I had always given very logical and, excuses for myself of, oh, well, like you have this, you have that, or, what if you aren't good at something, or like, what if you fail? And I think it crafted and forged a level of determination that I feel like I just try to have in terms of transferable skills to all of the other games that I played. But Celeste is a beautiful experience for me just because I think it was a lot of learning that for the first time, especially just as a creator,
Sure.
So
Now, I have to say, with this game, there is the main story that you have to accomplish, where you are climbing your mountain, you are overcoming the odds. But the makers of this game didn't want to just stop there. The makers of this game they're like, failure? Oh, we're going to make people fail. Watch us. And they incorporated several different challenges in the game. Not only is each level littered with dozens of small, pretty obvious challenges where you can collect strawberries that don't have a super tangible reward per se, but I mean, you gotta collect them all, obviously.
Yeah.
They're there.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, there is a secret area in every level that puts you through an even harder platforming challenge. And by completing that challenge, you end up with what's called the B-sides of these levels.
Oh, man.
The B-sides of these levels are... They take the level that you're in. So, for example, we're in that hotel, and they're like, okay, what are all the key mechanics that you learned in this hotel area? We're going to dial that up to 12 and kind of just shove you out there. Good luck, bozo.
Yep.
And the B-sides, luckily, they're much shorter than the main levels, but they are an incredibly difficult platforming challenge. Where it was just a do it for the sake of doing it, for the love of the game.
Yep. Literally, like for the love of the game. That is what those sides are. And boy, oh boy, is this game such a rabbit hole, I swear. It really tests the limits of who you are as a completionist, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this game, truthfully, is probably the cruelest game for aspiring completionists, because it just continues to get deeper, right? Like right when you think that you've done this thing and you are completely okay based on, this metaphorical and literal mountain or metaphorical and literal level that you finally completed.
Right.
There's something else that's waiting for you on the other side, right? And I mean, the B-side tapes were something that I found myself doing, and I almost got lost in just trying to figure out exactly what that meant for me, right? Because, for all intents and purposes, I think the game is wonderful and amazing and just fantastic across the board to beat, right?
Yeah.
The main story is kind of where you need to be. There is, if I'm recommending to this aspiring individual that is trying to play a game, the B-side tapes, I gotta kind of like put you through the fire a little bit before, because I don't want you to have to go through anything unnecessary that you're not willing to have a level of grit and determination for. Oh, and by the way, just in case people forget, B-sides are not the end of it all. Oh no, there are what we call in the industry of lunatics C-sides, which are, we already talked about dialing up the everything to 12. Let's dial it up to 20 and cut it in half, right? We'll cut the length in half, but we'll dial it up to 20 where you have to just simply be perfect. There's not necessarily room for any type of error. They will punish you.
It is literally like frame perfect advanced techniques. You literally have to employ like techniques that would be considered cheesing the game in a regular playthrough.
Yep.
In order to even like begin to attempt these levels where it's like, we need to do some wave dashing, which is like, you know, not a thing, but it's a thing.
Right.
And we actually built a level around broken mechanics because we decided that it would be funny.
Yeah. I was like, oh, wait. I thought I would have sworn when I was trying to look up in forums about this idea of wave dashing or just in general in Celeste, I'm like, you know, hi, early 2000s Melee players, let's talk about it, because you thought that wave dashing was just going to exist in this one box. Oh no, it's transcended so heavily that you find us actively talking about it in this way with a completely different game. Oh my goodness, yeah.
And really, there's like no other way to describe it, but it is just so impressive. And after all of this, you have your 8 levels, you have your B-sides, you have your C-sides. You think the game is over, and it is for a little while. But then a year or two after this game comes out, the devs are like, hey guys, we've been holding the ending of the game in our back pocket. Welcome to the D-side DLC.
Yeah.
And as a person who was filtered out at the C-sides, like I beat maybe 2 or 3 of them, and then I was like, this is cracked. I am cooked on this front. The DLC, when I saw that the DLC was basically just more C-side shenanigans, but one gigantic level, I was like, this is something I'm going to watch. And I think I watched you for a while, literally like multiple hours, just trying to get one, like from A to B that you could see on the one screen.
That you can see!
Right,
like
you see the start and the end, and you're like, how?
Yeah. I have few words for that experience. I mean, again, for the people who I will say, just with how long I've been doing content creation now, which like in a couple of months it will have officially been just for half a decade.
Wow.
These instances and these games, if you kind of know where you were or were around when you saw me playing through a game like Celeste and further descending into madness, you really found yourself a relic, because where are those videos outside of a handful of clips? Lord knows, they're gone. But the memory and almost the trauma is still there. Right, it's still there. I'm telling you, you know, when you end up getting so many things, and the thing is, the reason why I believe completionists are in existence, or why they're the way that they are, is usually because of the level of payoff that you get. There's usually something that is worth the amount of time and effort and energy that you put in. Celeste is one of the first games where I truly just feel as though you are doing it for the love of the game, because the payoff, while nice, is very much, I've made it to this point and I look back and I look at the amount of deaths that I've had, or just the amount of time that I've put in, and you're like, huh. And then the more you think about it, the worse it kind of gets, because you're like, oh, well, maybe this was just a zero maybe this was just a zero-sum game, literally, right? And I tell you, everybody I think has to get off of the wagon at some point, and I'm just happy to at least have been able to get as far as I did, right?
Were you able
Because
to finish the DLC level, or
yeah,
you were?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. You know, that chapter 9, let me tell you something. You know, and for me, I think it was like I learned so much about myself as a gamer during that experience. Um, I learned that truly I have a level of like don't quit and grit that a lot of people I think would find borderline insane, because I'd be silly to say that I had almost lost why I was doing it in the first place. And a good amount of chat, though, were very supportive. Were also like, you can like take breaks or, stop. And for me, I was like, no, absolutely not. I
We
need
see
to
you
get to at least this
actively
checkpoint.
unraveling here.
Yeah, like I'm talking about
Like,
you
drink
found
some water.
yeah, you found a me in rare form. Like I was like so laser focused, but also at the same time trying to do my best to like interact with everybody as well, that you just saw like a level of unraveling that I wasn't, and I'm not the type of individual that will, get super upset at a game and then just like, rage out and everything. But there's almost a level of like silent determination that turns into a little bit of insanity. That's the
Sure.
type of gamer that I am. I'm like, I'm gonna finish this level. I don't know what damage internally is gonna happen, but like I'm gonna get there and I'll figure it out when I get there. But man, it was a good feeling, being able to kind of see that final frame, or that, just that end scene of like, oh, we finally were able to get to the level of like closure that I felt like we needed. Because I don't know if, not to necessarily like, I can't hold everything here in this here episode. I feel like I'd encourage you all to see some of the intricacies of like what inspires this. But there is a character in the name of our oldest granny who is just such a significant, funny, caring, but also like a driver, I feel like, of the entire game.
Oh, she's for
And
sure a
then
catalyst.
right. And when you kind of realize what happens, because the game again does not hold your hand in any instance. You go and I say that in a literal sense as well, because you kind of are like existing in this one level and you get past a certain point and it immediately cuts. Like it immediately cuts to like what the reality of the situation is, and you're just like, "Oh my goodness gracious. We need to get closure," because you're not about to just sit here and like, and the game allows you to, if you just want to sit in ambiguity and that's what it wants to be, then sure. But I was like, oh no. I need to know what happened, because
Yeah.
you're not about to sit here and make this insane change, like whiplashing me like in real time without me trying to figure out what's going on, or like how we can be able to give not just ourselves closure, but like our character closure, So, yeah.
I think you said that beautifully. I love that you can kind of see through your like Twitch journey some ripples that I think, can be traced back to Celeste. Like, listen, you are a diehard Hades fan, and there's definitely overlap there.
Uh-huh.
You're currently playing Nine Souls.
Yep.
Which there's definitely some overlap there. I don't know if you played Hollow Knight before or after Celeste. Vaguely feels like similar time window.
Yeah.
But again, you're just a glutton for punishment, I think is what I'm hearing. Radical Red.
I will never tell you I will never tell you the type of gamer that I am or like the type of individual in terms of challenge, but there will 1,000,000% be signs. Like, if I sat here and told you with like a smiling face, a genuine smiling face, yeah, no, I was able to complete Pantheon 5 for Hollow Knight. Oh, yeah, no, I was able to get to the DLC farewell and get like our epilogue for Celeste. Oh, yeah, no, for sure. I'm playing all of these other ridiculous games. Like, I did the Path of Pain. Like, just going back to Hollow Knight for a second, it's just like there will be signs, and I had a bit of a slogan I think early on, because now that I'm thinking about it, I think I did play, funnily enough, there was some overlap. I can't remember exactly which happened first, but there was for sure some overlap in playing both Celeste and Hollow Knight at the same time. And I was just telling people, before I found out that I just truly was in love with indie games, oh no, I'm playing the difficult games so that y'all don't have to, right? Like, if you want to watch somebody, if you want to cheer somebody on, you'll have the individual that won't bend or that won't break. He might turn insane because of it, but
Sure.
like, we'll get it done. And yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that I still have as much fondness as I do with those games, because man, I tell you what, like a journey. A journey.
Listen, I'm sure your therapist thanks you for all the input.
Yeah. She got paid immensely during that like 6 to 10 month period, for sure.
Listen, not only does the game, talk about mental health, but it also causes you to lose yours a little bit.
Yeah. Contradictory, truthfully, if I had to give a ding to Celeste.
There's a lot of trials and tribulations that you have to go through.
Right.
Now, is there anything else that you really want to like talk about with Celeste? Anything else that you really want to kind of make sure the people are aware of about that game before we move on?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say, just when we're talking about Celeste as a whole, I think the reason why the game is so significant to me is because if you're looking a little bit like closer into the story and kind of how everything progresses, Celeste is so much of a game about identity, right? And
Sure.
I think for me, it very much taught me, I think, just to truly be, I think, unapologetic in the spaces that I enter. And, obviously, you can kind of go down the rabbit hole of like what the actual meaning and like who, Madeline is, and kind of what the representation as you kind of proceed is kind of what the creator had in mind. And that's going to land differently for everybody, right? Like, not everybody is going to have that direct experience, but everybody can have an experience with what, like, and who your identity, like what that looks like.
Right.
And I think it helped me a whole lot because, you learn, I think early on in the game, you kind of have yourself, and then you have like your bad self, right?
Sure.
And you are in such a clash with this individual that ultimately is just a part of the holistic being that is you, right? And I think the best ending is kind of learning to be able to take both the good parts and the bad parts of yourself together and forge a path that ultimately is just your own, right? We can't completely get rid of the bad portions of ourselves. Sure, we can mitigate them for the greater good and for whatever you're looking for, but we're all human at the end of the day. We're all going to have fault, and we're all going to fall short in some way, shape, or form. And having that level of understanding, for me, I think for sure ended up helping me, both just as a content creator and knowing that I can kind of just be myself and that's more than enough. but then also within just general spaces. I mean, I was, and I remember this so specifically because I was playing Celeste and Hollow Knight during the time that I was in grad school. And the fact that I was able to stream consistently during grad school while also still doing well in grad school is crazy to me. I do not know how
Yeah.
I did that. But it was really good because just the circumstances surrounding that. I mean, it was one of the first times that I had dealt with it was the first time that I had kind of just dealt with things that were outside of my control. With like job layoffs and then just trying to figure out exactly like kind of who I was and, being bright-eyed and bushy-tailed outside of, your undergrad experience or anything, and you're trying to, just make progressions within yourself from a career standpoint and just like as a budding adult. Um Kind of having a lot of those different things happen made me really question, I think, a lot of like, am I doing something wrong? Or is there anything that's like bad that people just might be able to see? Is this imposter syndrome that I'm having valid, right? And as you kind of get to know a little bit more, you really get those lessons that I think for me, not only is it just a great game that I think I recommend everybody play, but I think it ends up causing you to have a deep dive in a conversation with yourself ultimately to find yourself as a better person. So I think you end up being a better person coming out of the game, barring all of the potential mental health nosedives that you can take with the level design. But lore wise, for sure, from like start to initial end credits, you do end up becoming a better person out of it. Having a more keen sense of your identity. So big shout out to Celeste for that, for sure.
I mean, really, I think you wrapped it up perfectly. The game is beautiful. The messaging is fantastic. The visuals are gorgeous. The kind of like 16-bit chiptune vibes, and just like everything about the game, it makes it so worth checking out. So if you haven't already checked it out, it is available on just about every dang platform that is out there. Go play Celeste. It's a super banger. And yeah, it's one of the games of our lives.
One of the games of our lives.
Now, I'm so happy that you happen to be wearing a hat right now because we are about to be entering tip of the hat, wag of the finger.
Woo!
So, listen. With each episode, we tip a hat and we wag the finger at one or two things a piece. Nate, do you have any tips of the hat that you'd like to give out today?
Oh yeah, I've for sure got a tip of the hat. I would like to formally, right? I'd like to formally, give my regards and recommendations as a foodie on this day. Wingstop has recently came out with a Mexican street corn wing flavor. You can find it as a boneless wing, a bone-in wing, a tender, and I have got to say, Wingstop for me, they hit more than they miss, but they sometimes have hits and misses with their flavors. I do not think that there is a better recent flavor that has come out than this. And I don't know if they were just because it's new. I don't know if it's because, the location that I was in was in some sort of flow state. But I would say that if you're a fan of like chicken, go ahead and find yourself a Wingstop and go get some Mexican street corn tenders, bone-in wings, boneless wings. That's my foodie tip of the hat. You get a clean, crisp, like 9.4 out of 10 for me. Like just a wonderful experience.
I love wings, and the fact that Wingstop has like an elote wing that exists is insane to me.
Yeah.
Do they even like crumble like the cotija cheese on top of it too?
It's the whole nine. And I'm telling you, it was wild. I was like, you have all of these flavors coming together. I mean, like obviously, like you've got the cilantro piece, the lime piece, like just like the general essence of like
Ooh.
what your like elote like experience should be like.
Yeah.
And on top of all of that, I believe they also have that legitimate item just as a menu, like as a menu item.
Oh,
So
dang.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic time with it. Like I'm really hoping that all of the Wingstop locations for all of my listeners that end up, listening in, I really hope that they do a good job, because I'll tell you what, I'll stick my neck out for that flavor.
Yeah.
For sure.
I literally am this close to ending the episode now so I can go to Wingstop. So.
Listen, and please listen and keep me updated, right? Like I am one of the foodies of all time, and I'll tell you what, like I do not stick my neck out often for food places. But Wingstop really might have struck gold with this one. They really did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My tip of the hat. Hats off to a couple of friends of mine, Pixie and Kingo, who came to my city for the weekend, and we were able to hang out, get some of the sights, and play some video games together. We survived a tornado together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, like, we weren't in the tornado, but my car remembers the hail, is all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
But they came into town. We were able to see the sights. We had some incredible ramen. There's a shop nearby that has just chef's kiss, like top tier ramen, and had this delicious like ice cream concrete mixer afterwards. And we spent the weekend playing video games and checking out local game shops. I was able to pick up. I'm collecting all 3 legendary bird Pokemon cards. That's like my
nice.
That's my chase right now for Pokemon cards.
Okay.
And so like we went to a couple of the stores. One of the stores happened to have a copy of Blaine's Moltres, which I didn't have, so I was able to cop that, as well as they had a complete in box Star Tropics for the NES, which is like one of like my favorite games as a kid. And like I remember playing it with my dad all the time. So I was like, "Oh my god, like I have to get The Adventure of Mike Jones." And it even had like the booklet and everything. So I'm like, this is like a personal holy grail for me. So it'll be going up on this wall eventually.
Whew, which is nice.
So huge tip of the hat. It was a great find, and it was just a great weekend. So always happy to share it with some friends. And listen, maybe you and we can share a weekend in Chicago together. I'll get Thrilly on board. We'll check out some Pokemon fossils. Who knows?
Listen, if not then, at some point earlier, right? Like, because
absolutely.
I feel like it has been far too long.
Very true. TwitchCon 2021 was it 2021 that we went to TwitchCon together? Or was it 22?
22.
22. That still
22.
was 3 years ago, and that's
but
far
still,
too long between hangout sessions.
I agree. I'm inclined to agree. Mm-hmm.
Wagging my finger to the passage of time.
Yeah.
And how it's like, hey guys, it's been 3 years already since y'all hung. That's way too ridiculous. So yeah, wagging the finger time, because you're going too fast. You gotta slow things down. Although, hurry up these next 2 weeks, because a Nintendo Switch is coming out, and I need to play Mario Kart.
Oh, I will be living so vicariously through you. There is nothing that I would want more than to be able to experience that day one. I've come to accept that will not be in the stars for me, right? But I'm so excited to see some Nintendo content. Which maybe leans into my wag of the finger.
Okay.
I think I've got to give a wag of the finger to the entire process of just transitioning jobs / careers, right?
Sure.
Yeah, for me, I would say that it's been about a month and a half since being hit with this like recent wave of or this most recent wave of layoffs. And I think just in terms of going through the entirety of the process, things are very tedious, and some of the things that aren't necessarily said but is very true is that applying for jobs is a full-time job in and of itself and is pretty thankless in the process.
Sure.
And I will say just the process of either just applying or either not necessarily hearing things or getting through all the way to kind of processes ultimately for things to kind of have been wasted has just been one of those things that's spiked my irritability levels as of recent. I mean, I think luckily I'm in a place in space where the lights will stay on, right, and everything is gonna be okay for a long while. But I don't necessarily get to do the things that I'd like to, namely put in some work for the Switch 2. And I would just say a good wag of my finger to that. Because even so, there was an unnamed company. I will not air them out on this here podcast, right?
Sure.
But there was a company where I was set up for an interview, and all 45 minutes of that interview was just me staring at my computer, wondering what was going on. I mean, I'd send a message here, I'd send a message there, just to kind of make sure that I was like,
Am I in the right place?
right, like I exited and rejoined just to make sure that I was in the right place. And I unfortunately didn't necessarily get a comment until after. And for me, my net is pretty wide right now in terms of where I'd like to be in the field, because I guess as somebody who worked in advertising, I think for me, I'm so open as I'm entering the next chapter of my life into doing something potentially different, whether that's either going back to something that I did beforehand, which was in higher ed, or just in general. And I think for me, I just had to kind of take a little bit of offense to just my own personal time, because when I think about, if that was a situation that she was on the other foot, oh goodness gracious, yeah, you could only hope for an email response back, because
Right.
the entire process would just be completely done. So I don't know. I think and hope, not just for myself, but for a lot of the individuals who have been looking for eons longer than I have when we look at the grand scheme of things. I hope that everybody is able to just kind of find something to, not only be able to fund the things that they like to do, but just fund being able to exist, because it's getting pretty expensive to just do that, which I say that in the sense of like where my own personal mental health, all things considered,
Sure.
is pretty solid. But boy, oh boy, is it getting very expensive to exist.
Listen,
Um,
we're starting to live in a B-side era, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Like, do I gotta boot the game back up and play it again just to try to reset the balance? Who knows, right?
Time
Who
will
knows?
tell. Time will tell. But as we already know, time's moving too fast. So slow down, or we're gonna wag them fingers.
A wag of the finger to me.
We're gonna bring this all the way back to what we were talking about in the beginning. We were talking a little bit about the Pokemon trading card game Pocket, which you now know that we're both fans of. But
Yeah.
what other video games have you been playing lately?
Ooh, great question. I mean, I feel like I'll obviously want to separate this from what I'm playing, on stream versus off stream. We can always circle back to some of the stuff that's happening currently, but I think the main thing that I have decided to kind of delve a little bit back into as of recent
Yeah.
was GTA 5.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe it's just because of the impending hype of the new installment. I'm particularly excited because I know exactly kind of where that is going to be placed. Like, that's in my hometown that we're talking about. Like, maybe I could be able to roll up to my
Right?
personal streets and homes. Who knows? But I feel like I am very I'm very tethered to some of the immediate group chats that I'm in, especially like the gaming ones that are, hey, we're doing this, or the general interest is this. Is this what
Yeah.
we want to be able to do? I'm hoping in the future I can have more of those, so there's a little bit more of a variety, because I feel like it's usually, hey, here's the game that's all the rage right now. Here's the current hyperfixation.
Right.
That just is what it is. But apparently, and I don't know how long this has been for, but GTA 5 has had a, I guess just like an upgraded, updated looking version. Like, they have a
Oh.
legacy situation,
Huh.
and then they have one of the new ones.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like, and again, like, I don't know if this is just, to get people to go back into the game to build hype, but I was able to start up with the game again. They gave me a free 4 million, right, in currency to work
Hey.
with. All of the textures and just like the gameplay is a really smooth and beautiful experience, and I'm excited to just kind of be my best crime lord self in the game. So outside of a couple of different installments, like, truthfully, I probably have by far and away the least amount of experience with not only GTA 5 but maybe the GTA series, right? Like,
Sure.
I'm a San Andreas fan, and maybe like a couple of others, but that's kind of been that's been the main game that I've been playing a little bit off stream as of recent.
Yeah. What have you been playing on stream?
Oh, so on stream, I mean, it's been a little bit of variety for sure.
Sure.
As the time passes, it almost kind of feels like you can figure out what year it is, and you can say 2022 or 2025. I am still somehow playing Pokemon Radical Red. The game has changed, obviously, with the times. They have a more cohesive experience in terms of all generations, and a lot of mechanics that weren't necessarily in the game, or types of Pokemon that weren't necessarily in the game but are now. So that's an experience, and I
Is
will.
Gen 9 finally in
Yeah.
Radical Red? Oh,
Gen
nice.
9's in Radical Red,
Let's
and
go.
yeah, if you're familiar with kind of the Sevi Islands, right?
Yeah.
Right, they have incorporated those Pokemon in terms of regional forms also within the game,
Oh,
which
that's
is crazy
cool.
because, like, you've somehow been able to take something that is like OG, but also have been able to quality of life it to include up, like, there's a roster of Sevi Island regional Pokemon
Oh,
that
cool.
range from Gen 1 through Gen 9, right? Like, it's crazy, and they're
Are they
different.
like original creations like within the game, or are they like regional variants
Yeah,
from? Oh, okay. So it's just
yeah,
like a
there's like a little bit
Sevian
of both.
Sandshrew or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
Like,
really cool.
yeah, it's sick. Like, for example, there's a Sevian Milotic, right? That is ground fairy, I believe. Which is
Okay.
like, okay, what if Milotic just decided to go like girls, like grunge, play in the mud situation, and then it's just like,
Okay.
it's a muddy looking like Milo, like if a Milotic lived in a swamp, for
Yeah.
example, right? And the sprite in and of itself is just like, oh wow, this is like really interesting. I didn't even think that you could, like, what is this concept,
Yeah.
because obviously you'll have your Sevi Island Pokemon, but it's like, how do you translate that into like future gens?
Okay.
That is crazy. So yeah,
That's
I'm going through
cool.
that, and having a good time with it as always. I feel like I am the Sisyphus on that Celeste mountain, eventually hoping to try to get to the top. So I'm hoping to be a little bit more Madeline and less like Sisyphus in these future runs. But I'm doing that. I'm also taking a little bit of a which is kind of crazy, a nearing retro vibe in The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess,
Oh, cool.
and going through an entire playthrough of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I fell into completing all of the Mario and Zelda series on stream, which I'm not mad at, right? Like
Sure.
I went through All Stars because I needed to justify my purchase, but it ended up being a really good experience just kind of going through,
Yeah.
and reliving all of those experiences. But then I have kind of went back and forth with Zelda. So I don't know. Maybe Odyssey might just be within my realm as we proceed. But right now, I'm learning a whole lot that people only on the internet are yapping and chirping about how XYZ, Twilight Princess is. Right? I feel
Yeah.
like it's one of those things where the game is actually really, really good if you don't have somebody, yelling in your ear that it's not. Because the amount of people that have kind of come out of the woodwork in support of the game or have just like really enjoyed, the process of playing has been surprising. Because I'm like, I mean, I'm just doing this because, I really like this game, but like people are just like, no, like Twilight Princess is like one of my favorites. I think it's a game that deserves so much more love. I was like,
You know what though? Like I feel like and the Mario games have this too, but the Zelda games specifically have this where they they have like a sine wave in regards to what the zeitgeist feels about any particular Zelda game at any particular time. And
yeah,
depending on just when on the timeline you are, sometimes you're up here, sometimes you're down here. I feel like right now Twilight Princess in the zeitgeist is kind of on the lower end of the spectrum, whereas
yeah,
like Wind Waker is like way high right now.
yep,
But give it 3 years and you'll see that kind of start to waver. Um,
yeah,
it's every Zelda game has like a we love it. 2 generations later, it's actually the worst Zelda game that ever
yeah,
happened. And then like after 10 years, nostalgia hits, and they're like, actually, this game is the greatest game of all time if you think about
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. No,
So
that.
it's so funny to see just like the Zelda opinions in the
Mhm.
world.
Oh yeah, that totally makes sense. I think we are very strung by where we are as a society. I feel like right now we're a very unserious society. Like I'm as an unserious individual myself, of course, I'm always going to be like this, but I think in general, maybe we're using unseriousness to just kind of cope with all of the ridiculous things that are happening like on the planet.
Are you saying we live in
And
an unserious society right now?
yeah, we for sure live in an unserious society, and I think people loving Wind Waker, which I think is just a fundamentally more unserious game within the franchise, but
Sure.
also very, very beloved, it is a reflection of that. And maybe if people are like, well, why aren't we talking about, the political and economic state of the world, which is like a completely separate thing. But like people, when they have more of that, maybe they will enjoy more of the serious, like and mature tones of where the Zelda games are. So yeah, you're all right. I think we're here.
Yeah, give it another 4 years. It'll be the
Yeah,
most beloved Zelda game of all time again.
yeah. But I'm doing that, and then of course in my current indie game slot, again, I don't think we would be here if I didn't, we didn't have a love for indie games. I'm currently playing Nine Souls, which is, the another action adventure platformer with like a deep and mature type of lore with instances of horror, because I didn't realize this until
Hmm.
in the game that,
Yeah.
oh no, this is a horror dev like studio, right? Like they have
Oh,
some
I had no
crazy.
clue.
Yeah, right. I was like, you know what? I maybe see it kind of looking at the beginning, but then like towards the middle and then one specific boss fight, you're like, oh, I see how I see. Y'all were really in your bag and you were just having restraint this entire time because y'all really
Okay.
could like get into it if you needed to. But yeah, I've been enjoying that. Getting a little bit more inspiration and knowledge about Taoism, but also just like through a cyberpunk aesthetic is exactly what that game is, which is
Okay.
really, really interesting. Maybe I'm playing different types of games to feel the now maybe sort of kind of uh void hole of Silk Song, right? I feel like up until this point, everything was a meme and I was getting clowned on. But then when, a Nintendo Direct randomly decides to be like, oh yeah, by the way, this is happening this year. Like people haven't been asking them
It still hasn't set in, by the
specifically.
way. It has
No,
not
not
set
at all.
in. And,
Yeah, it's
like,
been oddly quiet in so many of my group chats because it would around every Nintendo Direct, it'd be like, all right, here's time to like, let's do our mandated 20 minutes of clowning on Nate because he has hope again. So,
listen, I still can't believe we got that and Deltarune within like
yeah,
8 seconds of each other.
again, like there is a reaction that I have that I would love to see. I mean, it's a little bit after the fact now.
Sure.
But has like my entire reaction to that direct, and that could have just been maybe that's a sequel for us currently, because I was just like, I could have yapped about that and all of the components within that forever, because I'm like, y'all really did your thing. Like I'm very much here for it. But that's pretty much that's the long and short of it. I've been, obviously being a variety creator, I'm doing a little bit of everything.
Sure.
I did a Hades tier list recently of who could and could not get invited to a cookout.
Okay.
Yeah, I played some Super Mario Jamboree as of relatively recent.
Okay.
And like it's always a fun time. I like to try to keep my pillars, but I know me being variety, I'm liable to do and be playing anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Myself, it's been a real busy week for me.
Mhm.
Like I had people in town this weekend. I was in a wedding last weekend, and I had to do a whole bunch of work in between. But I was able to squeeze in. I'm currently on a journey, if you were unaware, of playing through all of the Yakuza games. So we're up to Yakuza 4 right now.
Okay.
So
Sick.
so I'm about like 9 chapters deep. I'm on the 3rd character of Yakuza
Yeah.
4. So we're moving. We're moving. My goal is to like finally be able to play as a pirate.
Mhm.
With as
Yeah.
Majima. So like, 2026 is going to be a big year for me.
Yeah. I'm excited for
at the
you.
rate
I
we're
mean,
going.
that's a good series. I mean, that's one of the rare ones that I wish I didn't play and have like caught myself up on off stream, because that is something just like either for content or just like I'd love to be able to do it again, right? In terms of
Sure.
play through that for the first time. It's a good time.
It's a really good time, and if there's nothing else, the franchise is just so consistent.
Mhm.
Like, I've having played through Yakuza 0, 1, 2, and 3, you know what you're getting yourself into, and it's still a new experience every single time. Which
Yep.
which I really, really enjoy about the franchise. They change just enough, and there's just enough new stuff where even though you are literally in the same map every single game,
Mhm.
you're doing something a little bit different. I've also been playing, like I said, I was playing some Mario Party Superstars over the weekend,
Okay.
which was a lot of fun. I lost, so it wasn't that fun. No, I'm just kidding. It's Mario Party Johns. It's okay.
Yeah.
And also we played a mode in Super Smash Brothers that I had never played before, which was really cool.
Okay.
So Super Smash Brothers Ultimate has a mode called Smashdown. And
Huh.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but what it does is as you and the other players compete in matches, after each fight, the players that you played as are eliminated, and it just
Oh.
tracks your wins. So after each match, the winner gets a little, number next to their name,
Mhm.
and the roster shrinks as you compete in
Oh,
matches.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 3 of us did a Smashdown. Took us about like an hour and a half or so. But like
Yeah.
you kind of have to like be able to pull out all the stops with characters you may not be familiar with.
Mhm.
It is, I would say, the equivalent of playing as random in some
Mhm.
respects, because you're gonna end up playing. I think with 3 players, Smashdown ended up being about like 26 matches.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have to play as 26 different characters. So
Which to even say you can, as an individual, play as 26 different characters around and times that by 3 just is, it speaks to how expansive
Yeah.
that roster and just what a beautiful
Insane.
body of work Sakurai was able to put together. Like, yeah.
Listen, and now he's gonna be pulling out a new Kirby game. Like, let's go. Air Riders.
Just cinema.
Insane
Cinema.
work. Thank you, Papa Sakurai.
Thank you. That's dope though. I've got to try that. I did not. I mean, the more you know about Smash Bros, I feel like usually people are like, before you can even think, all right, I'm pressing start. Let me set up the 3 stock and whatever, and you're just immediately at the normal thing. But when you take some time to kind of like explore a little bit, you're like, oh,
I have 200 hours in the game. Had no clue.
Yeah.
Had no clue. By the way, love the little Madeline battling animation you got going on in the background there. Well done. Well done.
Listen, I'm nothing if not attempting to be prepared. Like, this is one of my favorite like tech purchases over here. Like my little pixelated screen.
Love it.
When I'm able, yeah, it's a good one.
That's awesome. Well, Nate, thank you so much for being here today. It has been an absolute pleasure talking Celeste, talking just video games and life in general with you. Where can the people find you if they want to find more Nate, more of the Third Night on the internet?
More of the Third Night on this here internet is wild. But all that being said, you can pretty much find me anywhere where you can go in a search on social media and hit the Third Night. You could, like, everything that you see pretty much on the screen, whether it's the Twitches or the YouTubes or all of the socials, it will pretty much be under that name. The only difference is my little new passion project, which is YouTube. Instead of the Third Night, it is going to be the Third Night Plus. Half of me is like, it's an awesome opportunity because it's just pretty much plus whatever, because you never know what my next upload there is going to be. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what the reps for me in this new long form content space looks like. But also it's because somehow the Third Night on YouTube is missing, and the void, or who I'm trying to, contact, just does not exist. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm pretty much the Third Night on everywhere social media can find me.
Well, thank you again for being here, and thank you, listeners, for giving the show a listen, viewers for giving the show a watch. If you're on YouTube, please hit us with that thumbs up. If you're on, Spotify or Apple or any other streaming service, hit us with that 5-star. Drop a review even if you'd like. That would be pretty rad. We try to air this show every other Friday, so expect a new episode every other Friday. You can find everything about the show at Games of Our Lives on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Blue Sky, and any streaming service. Instagram is Games of Our Pod. Games of Our Lives was already taken. Very rude. Can't believe that someone stole the Third Night. Someone's stealing Games of Our Lives. Shenanigans, I say.
Something's got to be done about this. I don't know.
Well, until those monsters are stopped, Nate and I are not going to rest, and that's why we're going to end this episode right now. Thank you all for listening and watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.